Now we need to talk about something incredibly important, because not all mobile pizza businesses are the same. And honestly, one of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that pizza is pizza, events are events, and money is money. Now, that's not how this industry works. Different trading styles create completely different lifestyles, different pressures, different earnings, different staffing requirements, different stress levels, and different freedoms. And this matters massively because the wrong business model can make you miserable, even if technically you are making money. Now, when most people imagine mobile pizza, they immediately think festivals, weddings, street food, and maybe a cool van parked somewhere with music playing and customers queuing. And yes, sometimes it absolutely looks like that, but behind the scenes, a very different trading model has strengths and weaknesses. And honestly understanding yourself is just as important as understanding pizza. Because some operators love chaos, others hate it. Some love weddings, others can't stand them. Some love the excitement of festivals, and others would rather trade from the same pitch every Friday night and go home early. There is no universal perfect model. The only correct model for your personality, energy, and long-term goals. Now let's start with weddings. Weddings can be fantastic and a fantastic business opportunity, and I love them. High ticket values, emotionally driven customers, beautiful venues, great margins when the systems are correct. But weddings also create pressure because weddings are emotional events. There are no second chances at a wedding. If a birthday goes wrong, people may forgive you. If a wedding goes wrong, people remember it forever. That pressure changes things operationally. Timings matter, presentation matters, communication matters, professionalism matters massively. And honestly, wedding customers are not only buying pizza, they are buying reassurance. They want to feel safe that you know exactly what you are doing. That confidence becomes part of the product. Now, weddings also tend to require travel, long days, set up in difficult locations, and late finishes. And honestly, this is where people underestimate physical exhaustion massively, because the social media version of hospitality rarely shows packing down in the rain, driving home exhausted, the mud, the wind, the generator failures, the trailer problems, the fire problems, the dough problems. But that's real life. Now, festivals are completely different again. Festivals can create incredible turnover, but they also create enormous risk. Weather risk, pitch fee risks, footfall risk, staffing risk, stock risk. One bad weather weekend can destroy profitability completely. And honestly, this is where experience matters massively. Understanding festival type, audience type, spending behavior, and queue management with the throughput all matters enormously. Now, one of the biggest lessons I learned years ago was never reducing pricing simply because competitors are cheaper. I remember catering at a music festival on a campsite. It was a small event, about 2,000 people, and there were only 4 food vendors. I arrived early, set up properly, and prepared everything carefully. At the time, my prices were £5 for a margarita, £7 for a pepperoni, and £8 for a house special, which is my favorite pizza, brie, courgette and caramelized onion. The burger guy laughed at me because he was selling burgers for £2.50. The hog roast vendor thought I was mad as well. But by 9 o'clock, the burger vendor had packed up due to lack of trade. And by midnight, the hog roast still had a huge amount left over. I think he had a whole pig and a half, didn't know what to do with it. Meanwhile, we had queues all evening running roughly about 70 pizzas per hour from a 2-person team. The key lesson was simple: understanding the customer. It was not a cheap festival. It was families and couples spending money on experience. People wanted quality. They wanted the atmosphere. They wanted the theatre and they wanted the experience. And honestly, that lesson shaped my thinking massively moving forward. Now, let's talk about street trading. Street trading can become one of the most stable models in the whole entire industry. Consistent locations, repeat customers, predictable workflow, lower setup stress once established. But finding strong trading pitches is difficult. And local authorities' rules vary massively from location to location. Now, one of the main advantages of fixed weekly trading is routine. Routine creates predictability, operational rhythm, repeat customers, simpler staffing. And honestly, repeat customers are the backbone of a strong long-term business because loyal customers reduce marketing pressure massively. Now, corporate events create another completely different market. Corporate customers often care about professionalism, reliability, presentation, and timing. And honestly, corporate work can become extremely lucrative because companies often value reliability over price. And that is important to understand because many beginners obsess about being the cheapest. That's usually the wrong strategy. Cheap customers are often the hardest customers to please. Higher value customers usually care more about experience, confidence, consistency, and professionalism. Now, another huge decision is private events versus public trading. Private events gives us guaranteed bookings, known numbers, pre-arranged revenue. But public trading gives us freedom, visibility, potential scale, and repeat exposure. Again, there is no perfect answer. Many successful operators combine both. Now, here's another major mistake people make: trying to do everything. Your first year is crazy. You literally take everything. Weddings, festivals, street food, corporate functions, markets, pub nights, private hire. And honestly, that can become exhausting very, very quickly. Because every market has a different preparation, a different customer expectation, different timings, and different staffing needs. And constantly switching between systems creates stress. And that's why many mature operators eventually specialized. They find the lifestyle they enjoyed, the margins they prefer, the workload that they can sustain. And honestly, sustainability matters massively in hospitality. Burnout destroys businesses consistently. Now let's talk about staffing briefly, because different events requires massively changing staffing requirements. Fast festivals demand speed, communication, queue management, and volume output. Weddings demand presentation, professionalism, and timing. Street trading demands consistency, customer interaction, repeatability. Corporate work demands organization, reliability, and professional appearance. Again, the system changes depending on the environment. Now, one of the biggest lessons I ever learned in business is this: you do not build a successful operation by copying somebody else blindly. You build it by understanding your personality, your strengths, your weakness, your energy levels, and your goals. Some people absolutely thrive on busy festivals. Others hate the uncertainty and preferred structural weekly trading. Neither is right or wrong. Now, another thing social media really shows is seasonality. This business changes massively through the year, and it's necessary to understand that. Summer can feel relentless: festivals, weddings, long hours, travel, heat, pressure. Then winter arrives and suddenly everything slows down. I've got some customers that disappear for 3 months a year. That seasonality must be planned for financially. If you're burning your margins all the time, you'll run out of money. Cash flow management matters enormously in hospitality. Strong operators learn to save during the busy periods, prepare for the quieter periods, and diversify revenue systems. And honestly, diversification becomes increasingly important long term. Pizzas may become private hire, retail products, cooking schools, corporate experience, restaurant lunches, mentoring, and equipment sales. The opportunities can expand massively once the core business becomes stable. Another huge lesson is that not every event is worth doing. This is critical. Beginners often say yes to everything because they are desperate for work. But some events create huge stress, huge travel, huge cost, and terrible profitability. Experience teaches you which events to avoid. I eventually created rules for myself: distance limits, accommodation requirements, minimum spend requirements, and operational requirements. because not all turnover is good turnover. Profitability matters much more than ego. Now let's talk about atmosphere, because atmosphere massively changes customer spending behavior. You know, you've got the lighting, you've got the music, you've got the fire, you've got the smell, and you've got the presentation. These all influence perception. People buy emotionally. That matters enormously in hospitality. Now, one of the reasons live fire pizza works so well is because it naturally creates theatre. People stop, they watch, they film, and they share online. That visibility becomes free marketing. And honestly, some operators massively underestimate branding. Professional appearances matter. Clean trailers, clean uniforms, strong logos, clear menus, professional signage. Customers subconsciously judge quality incredibly quickly. Another important lesson: throughput changes everything. Slow service destroys event profitability. Queue management matters massively because long queues can create excitement or frustration. And there's a balance. An efficient system protects both the customer experience and the staff morale. Now, one of the greatest things about this industry is freedom. The freedom to build your own schedule, your own brand, your own style, and your own future. But freedom only exists when the business systems are strong. Chaos does not create freedom. Strong systems create freedom. In summary then, different trading styles create completely different lifestyles. The right business model depends on your personality, your goals, and your operational strengths. Weddings, festivals, street food, and corporate events all demand different systems, and profitability matters more than ego or turnover alone. Sustainable systems always outperform chaotic growth. I've helped hundreds of people start their own pizza businesses, and it always starts with a conversation. If you're serious about making this happen, then get in touch. No sales pitch, just honest advice.